Can y'all still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. You are live, Kimmie.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to our channel and our it's like just this is where we're holding space for all the people. We're in. I live outside of Toledo, Ohio, and there's a lot of people downtown Toledo right now that are standing up for something that is very, very much the truth and near and dear to their heart. And we're excited. I'm Kimmie Rose to be coming from each of our studios where we live. So coming to you from Lambertville, Michigan, I'm Kimmie Rose.
San Francisco, California.
Dallas, Texas. Randy.
San Francisco.
And she's from San Francisco.
So we get you covered from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Yes, we are like going like in a full circle, and many people know about, have heard the story about an African American man that was murdered during an arrest when a policeman, and I'm just watching the video again, was kneeling on his throat. Now, I've heard all kinds of things. I've heard things like he had a heart attack. I've heard, the things. But he George Floyd, that was his name. He was known as a gentle giant. And he was a young, good-looking man, very good-hearted person. He said, "I can't breathe," as an officer kneeled on his neck during an arrest. And this has created a lot of outrage. And I have to say that as I'm going through a lot of stories, May 7th, another story about African American man killed by a police officer. You know, I always share with everybody that we are all one. We are all one. And I want to cry right now because in this day and age that we are in, it's unbelievable that this stuff is happening. And just want to take a moment just of silence and just send lots of love and support to his family and just out into the universe so that people can wake up. I mean, people can wake up. So let's just take a moment and just be still. We give our respect and support to anybody who has been murdered, killed because of prejudice. Now there's a lot of that goes on. African Americans, transgender. I know, Gordon, where you live, a lot of that happens. People are killed every week. I was, seeing, what goes on in Dallas. You know, this is an outrage, and but I also have an issue with the rage that it's creating, because if we're holding space for a gentle giant, it would probably be good to not give them what they want, and that's a bunch of energy that where they can come in and start violence. And I'm talking about whether it be the police or people that want to continue to have these reasons to put themselves higher when they're not higher. We're all one. And I can't imagine, like, this police officer, and George Floyd, literally leaning on his neck, and he's saying, "I can't breathe," and it's just like, what is wrong with people? So I'm just gonna turn it over, because I know, Gordon, you're in Dallas, and last night they had a protest there, and it got really rowdy. Right now they're saying in Toledo it's gonna. And I keep setting messages. Come on, you guys, look, they keep it peaceful. Keep it peaceful. Don't give them what they want. Don't give them that anger. But how do you feel? What are you feeling?
I don't know. I mean, as far as here, downtown's pretty trashed after last night. I mean, there's a huge injustice going on. I mean, yesterday on a live feed in California, I saw a police officer walk up to a lady, kick her in her chest, knock her over, and walk back to his car. She was no danger to him. He turned around, had his back to her, and walked back to his car.
And she was a Caucasian?
Just standing out there protesting.
Wow. Well, I tell everybody, get your cameras out and start videoing what you can, because that's important. I mean, this is like outrageous, even that they're showing this man's face dead. Like, I'm sorry. That's like disrespectful in a way to show him. You know what I mean? I mean, I understand they need to show this video, but like, I can't imagine being his mother or a family member just to see the person that I gave birth to or that I love, like, passed away. right in front of my eyes. Like, what's going on, Gordon? You've been having dreams, getting visions. You've been telling me about this for a long time.
Was it about a month ago?
Yeah.
I started having dreams of violence and riots and fires and here we are.
You had dreams about riots, fires, everything that's happening now. And what do you think? I mean, what do we expect? I mean, we just got over, and it's not even over. This COVID thing isn't over. I know I've had a lot of feelings on that, but like when all this stuff is happening, I'm like, Gordon's like been sharing this. What do you think this has to do with? I mean, what's God or creator, or what are you being shown?
Right now, it's just been everything that was coming and happening. Now I'm asking for answers of why I was shown and what we're supposed to do from here. I mean, unfortunately, the riots and protests and it's not going to magically go away. Something's got to be fixed. And I'm afraid it's going to get worse before it gets better. But hopefully it doesn't get to a point where more people lose their life.
Do you think that's going to happen? Without making that a prophecy that happens, without giving energy to it. What do you feel?
I'd rather not comment on that because there's a lot of stuff I've seen that I've not vocalized just because I don't want to put the energy to it.
I understand that completely. So what can we do? What do you think we could do?
I mean, a lot of what's going on, I think a lot of people don't understand the riots and just how people are feeling right now. I know I had a lady in a group ask last night, and she said, why do white people always feel it necessary to quote Martin Luther King when you tell a black person or a person of color how they should feel?
Okay, I'm trying to understand that. Like,
so I mean that's come up a lot in a lot of the stuff that I've been following. That people don't understand because they've not been through it. They've not dealt with it.
Right. That makes sense.
I had back when I was in property management. When one of my properties, the alarm would get set off at night, and a manager that would call me to ask me to meet him there because he didn't want to be the black man on the property at night in the dark with the alarm going off. It's real.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
My co-hosts on the radio station, they both they're wonderful guys. They're both African American, and I know that when Jonathan Turner, he said, he goes, when you see that and you're seeing these people looting, the first thing you feel is like, oh my gosh, like now what are people going to look at me and think? And I'm like, really? Like, that's what people do. They think that way? Like, that's great. Like that's like, that would be like, like if, you're an incest survivor and a lot of incest survivors abuse people. So is that how people look at you like that? I mean, like that would be like thinking that way. He said, oh, it's much bigger than that. I'm like, well, we need to change that. I think we need to stop giving energy to like there's some type of energy. We're giving too much energy to something, and I think we need to like come together in a peaceful way, like hands across America, like to all hold hands. You know what I mean? One by remember hands. I don't know if you remember. I remember that changed my life. Like holding hands and just linking. You know, like one soul to another soul. Like we all have the same soul, color soul. We don't have. So what? One person has a little more melanin than another. Like big deal. It doesn't make us separate. It makes we're humans. We live under the same sun and moon. You know,
We all bleed red.
And all of the live news feeds that I've been watching, unfortunately, I'd say that probably 50% of the comments on these live news feeds for hours are people making racist comments.
Are you serious? Wow.
Absolutely.
Now, are these certain states, or are these like across the board?
I've seen it in the live videos that I've watched from all different states. A lot of it here in Texas. People saying, why are we marching and protesting here? It didn't happen here.
It's a
we
it's a
march
respect,
together because we won.
right?
Doesn't matter if it happened here or where it happened. We're one, and that's people don't understand that. So I think it's important right now for the teachers and everything to really get out there and promote and really do what they can to help teach people that we are one.
I agree.
And that when something happens to one person, regardless of their color or where they are, it's happening to all of us. So
It does. It is happening to us because it hurts. You can feel it, Tanika Tilton, the hate is worldwide. It's true. Yeah. And so if anybody knows anything about Carl Jung and the collective, I don't know if you've ever thought of somebody and then that person calls you. I mean, there is a science that how sound and thought, how it travels. And it's like when we put hate out there, it plants itself in a millisecond. It's like a 16th of a millisecond. Like it's crazy. And Carl Jung talks about that. Like, how does like even certain fads or fashions, like, it starts like, one place, the next thing you know, people are doing it. Or like Greg Braden talked about, they did a study where they taught monkeys to wash their fruit a certain way. And within a few weeks, never without having any contact with these other monkeys on an island, like I don't know, I don't know if it was a couple thousand miles, and I can't remember the exact details. They're washing the fruit the same way. Like there is a collective force that is above all of us, that when we put that out there, it's going to create this energy. And as I'm watching this Toledo feed, I see somebody say, oh, it's going to get really nasty later. I'm like, wait a minute, don't put that out there. Like, don't put it out there. I know you're mad, but if you're feeding violence with violence. Like, let's tone it down and feed it and like stand and like, I don't think that this man would want people to get killed. You know what I mean? He doesn't. You can just see. You can see in his picture. I get that message. Like he's got that peaceful energy. But at what point do we need to just become more mindful of our actions? You know what I'm saying? Like now is the time for us to understand. Please jump in.
I mean, I agree with, the protests, but peaceful protests, all this looting and all and stuff can't be good for the economy. It's already bad because of this pandemic. So got things on fire, store windows broken, and I get it. They're mad. I would be mad too. I mean, it's not okay to have this racism going on in 2020. It's just, we should be long past this by now. And actually, this is reminding me of the days of Rodney King and the Watts riots over Rodney King's killing by police. And it's like we're back in that same circle again, except it's just so much more emphasized. It's happening constantly.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Yeah,
It's instantaneous, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And I don't know how these policemen are trained and why they target African Americans, but they do. They target them. It's just plain and simple. They absolutely stick out like a sore thumb to the police. They don't care. Like, it's heartbreaking, really. It's really, because it's just not fair. And it's like, how can they rise as a people if they keep getting?
Right.
I mean, it does make me now, like, see, Caucasians and other nationalities out there protesting with the African Americans. I think that's awesome. I think that that's great that, not everybody is so close minded. But
Yeah, there's a huge diversity of the people that are out right now in Detroit.
yeah, definitely. But I don't know. It's so hard to watch. It really is, and it's all over the news. It's all over Facebook. It's all over every form of social media. It's everywhere.
So we were talking about that energy. So I looked this up because I know I read this. Scientists did a study on how fast thought travels. And it says it depends on the type of thought. Like the heavier the emotion, the more the neurons. And believe it or not, our spine contains electromagnetic energy, which is a current, which flows into the current of the earth. And it says finally trying to identify one value for the speed of thought is a little like trying to identify one maximum speed for all forms of transportation, from bicycles to rockets. But there are different thoughts that they can, and anger is one of them. So they're saying that it travels 150 milliseconds. The stronger the negativity is. And this has to do with, like, our brains actually have the ability to, like, our nervous system is energy. Like, our nervous system actually has energy in it. Like, we have neurons that are like electrical. I mean, like, if you really think about it, think about like an MRI.
Yeah.
An MRI, it spins and it creates energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when they're like, I think that's called electroencephalography or something like that. I wrote this down, but anyways, the nervous systems are active during the thought process, and information flows through it. And actually, then they take your weight, and they're actually able to take pictures of your organs. But your brain, without your brain is actually, your brain can move things. Your brain has the ability to create a force.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you want to create more peace in this world, you need to start with you.
Right.
So whether it be through meditation, they described this man as a gentle giant. There's the word gentle. So why are people out there not being gentle? There we go. Thanks, Sandy. And you know something, Sandy? I can't say that right now, but I appreciate it. But Sandy is a nurse, and let me know if this is making sense. But because it's the truth that there's energy. Dr. Emoto about, like, took drops of water, because our body is made up of 80 to 100% water, drops of water, and dropped it into water. And when he took hate and love, and all created a form.
Yeah.
So as people are getting violent, like, okay, so they're like, okay, this is about like holding respect for a man's life.
Right.
And it's not going to do any good if we're getting angry.
Right.
And if the police, you know, want to get angry, let them, do it, but we don't have to be the ones that show that violence. Like what you're trying to prove, right, is that they started the violence, correct? So why would we start the violence in a protest? I would love to look that up and Google protest. um I I feel like there's something about free will and choice in there, but it's like the nervous system, it actually, if you think about it, information flows through our nervous system. And um I guess the best way to think about it is you take like a proxy, and you take the speed of thought, and then you create a reaction based on an action. Holy crap, things can happen quickly.
Yeah.
And time is sped up. Now, what has happened during this whole COVID thing, it's really interesting because I talk to so many people now that, like my parents who used to go to bed early, they're up late now and they sleep in. It's like time has slowed down. Like the frequency of time has really slowed down. But if you think about the time of the onset of a specific thought, okay, let's go and let's protest because this isn't right, and we're going to show our respect. And you have love in your heart for this man that passed away. And then you have, what do you have in your heart for the person that they're saying killed him, right? Like you have anger, rage kills. Rage kills. So I just think we need to like really think about the reaction time. Like how fast does information travel through the nervous system? Because people just boom, they pop just like that. And if we can like learn to meditate or just like count to 3, and then remember, why are we there? Look at the person next to you, say, we're here together and we're here to hold space. And you have a right, a freedom to protest. It's when things get violent and crazy
Right.
that that changes. And so now Gordon said it. He said that there was a woman that was yesterday, that it was in Dallas, right, Gordon? In Dallas, that was,
No, this is actually in
oh, in
California.
California, that wasn't doing anything, and a police officer pushed. Did he kick her?
She was probably 20 feet from him. He walked over, kicked her in the stomach, knocked her down, and then walked back to his car. There's a video I shared yesterday that the police officer deliberately walked a good 10 feet over to somebody, shoved him in his chest and knocked him over, and then walked over.
I saw that one.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible.
It's not the way to handle things.
No.
So I just coming from a scientific thing, is it when they talk about thought, like that police officer, was he thinking about that like ahead of time? You know what I mean? Was he thinking about doing that? Because they say reaction, or like reaction time, it actually it can provide an index of how efficiently someone reaches and interprets sensory information. It decides what, and they decide what to do on with whatever they're doing based on a decision. So when this police officer had to have been enraged. You know what I mean? Either that or he thought about it ahead of time that that's what he was going to do. It's premeditated. But the hate has an energy, and hate is very close to rage. We need to lower that. We need to balance that, because it's going to end up with really, like Gordon's. Does that make sense, Gordon? Like you're having these dreams. that you can't once it gets to rage, there's no decision making. There's nothing logical. Rage kills.
But at the same time, you know, I understand it because if that was my kid, I would be right there in the front.
I think a lot of people is they will they're being violently protesting. If they're just peaceful, I guess I think they feel like get violent and loot and set things on fire to be heard. You know, because it's happening and keep happening. Like, so maybe we need to get.
I think I just lost sound.
There we go. I was gonna say there was an audio issue. Can y'all hear me?
But yeah, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but I do feel like the anger is coming from a place of them not being heard and this continuing to happen. I mean, we protest. There's protests almost every time, you know, that African American is killed by a police officer because it keeps happening even after protest after protest. So I feel like these protests, as they keep going, they get worse and worse, and they get more violent, and they get more just out of control because they don't feel like they're being heard. Yeah.
So they don't feel like they're being heard with that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if they're being heard,
How
then why
can
is
you
it
not feel like you're being heard when you've got all kinds of people that are getting together? So then how else can we be heard? That's a good question. I mean, I'd love to know if anybody that's watching us today, do you have an answer? You said the hate needs to stop. I've seen that from several people. How can we be heard? What's the answer?
We need to listen first.
Good. Yeah.
The audio is coming through goofy.
Yeah. Background noise, some sort.
Can y'all mute yourself when you're not talking? Just because it's picking up everything.
I'm trying to mute it. Now everybody's all quiet.
It's like, where can go? But no, I mean, the rage and everything now is just from years and years and years of not being heard.
It really is. I firmly believe that because, I mean, look at it, it's not changing. It keeps going, keeps happening. And then the protests get worse and worse as, you know, another person is killed. At least that's what I've noticed. This protest was one of the worst so far since this whole thing has been, you know, really televised and out there for everybody to see.
So do you
right
think-
now, there's two protests going on right now. One in San Francisco at 6 o'clock and one in Oakland at 7 o'clock. And they're gonna keep going. Yesterday in San Jose, they literally shut down the freeway. And people were walking across the freeway. We're talking 5 lanes of freeway. Trying to be heard.
Is there, I mean, like,
That was actually where the lady was that got kicked.
San Jose?
Yeah. She was over by the freeway.
Yeah.
why was he arrested? Do you know?
So supposedly he was committing forgery.
Committing what?
Forgery. Somebody said
something about a counterfeit $20 bill was something that I heard. That he didn't know that it was a counterfeit $20 bill.
Wow.
So it was basically bogus from what I understand anyway to begin with.
Either way, that's extreme measure of bill. Just crazy.
So that makes me sad.
It is. It's very sad, and
Not angry, but sad, overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So there was a man that was killed in Detroit over this. So people are dying over this, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that this is what George Floyd would want. Do you?
It's not, and that's one of the things that people have come out and said, that that he would, he wouldn't want this.
Like literally, they're calling in the National Guard.
Yeah, there was somebody shot out here last night.
Yeah.
When you're doing a protest, there's a safe way to do it, and you have to be safe, because the people that are there, they're there for a good reason. If you're organizing it, you should be responsible enough to keep it safe. And it's just when everybody just yell, there should be rules, and it's like, and that's the same with the police officer. I mean, what are the laws? I mean, do each city have any laws with protests? I mean, I know I sound like I'm, but I am bringing it up because we have a right to protest. But walking across an expressway, I mean, what if somebody was taking their sick child to the hospital, and their child was dying, and they couldn't get to the hospital because people were walking across the expressway?
Right.
It's difficult because I see both sides.
Right.
Yeah, I do too.
I totally understand, because I mean, and I actually saw a meme recently, or I think it was yesterday, that was asking the question, why is it not okay to protest, this way? You're saying that this is not the way to protest, but when we tried to do peaceful protest, none of it was accepted. Colin Kaepernick taking a knee in protest, that was not acceptable, So that's why people are doing this. That's why there's so much outrage. That's why we're at this point right now, because, these things keep happening. And I mean, and one of the things that I've heard a lot is that if that officer had been taken into custody right away, if they had done all of these things, then we wouldn't be where we are right now, because people would have seen that there was justice immediately.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem in a lot of these situations, is there's nothing done right away to the person who committed the the crime or the murder or whatever it is they did,
Right. And it's not until there is a huge amount of outrage from everybody that anything is done. I mean, we look at the other cases that are happening right now with the woman that was killed I think it was in Kentucky, the pregnant woman, absolutely unnecessary. There's no reason that she should not be here, today with her child, or the jogger that was killed. And the only reason that came to light was because the video showed up, because that was getting swept under the rug too. So really,
what happened in Kentucky out here not long ago.
What's that?
The headline out here recently, not that long ago, the neighbor had called the police to ask for a welfare check because the neighbor front door was open, but the screen door was closed.
Oh.
So the police officer showed up, did not knock on the front door, went around to the back of the house, walked by the window, saw somebody moved, immediately yelled, "Put your hands where I can see them," and then started shooting through the window.
Oh my God.
Shot and killed her in her own house.
What the hell?
it's just, it's, you know, it's unacceptable, really. There's no reason that any of it should be happening.
Well, the law, protesters' rights in the United States. It says your rights are strongest in what are known as traditional public forums, such as streets, sidewalks, and parks. You're also likely to have the right to speak out on other public property like plazas in front of government buildings, as long as you're not blocking access to a government building or interfering with other purposes of the property it was designed for. Hundreds. It talked, you know, this is what's really interesting, because this is where they say it goes wrong, and it's the police. I'm just going to tell you, this is what this says here.
True.
It says that, and this is just like, these are all the laws that come. It says, you know, that we have a right and to do this. We have a right and a freedom, and there's actually laws that govern those rights, right? And it says, but most of the time, what happens is that it says the police don't know what those laws are, and they step in. So what I say is, find out what's the law, you know?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
they definitely need to educate them more for sure. I mean, that should just be standard, you know?
yeah. Then you know, like, you have the right to assemble and peacefully protest against the government as you see fit. Derived from the First Amendment to the United States government, you can assemble and engage in peaceful protest in a public space. And but the thing it says is, it says that sidewalks, and you know, and it says that several U.S. states have introduced various resolutions and legislation to protest, you know, and despite this, U.S. Supreme Court has explicitly rejected ideas. So, you know, it's like, so we got one thing against another, but here's the law right now. The right to assemble is recognized as a human right and protected in the First Amendment in the United States Constitution under this clause. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So, but many times the police don't follow this. It says that. It says this in like 5 different articles. Now, I see I think Oklahoma was one of the first ones to go a little bit deeper with their thing. But then they start getting into this, you know, that pipeline thing. Then they start going into this is crazy. Then they start cutting off people's rights, depending on what the protest is about. It's like, okay, I can see people could start getting angry, but you know, like, right to peaceful assembly. Like, okay, I'm seeing people texting, love you guys for going out there and standing up for what's right, but don't fill it with anger, you know? Because anger just gets anger, and that's how this man passed away, you know? Bigotry, all that stuff. It's connected to hate crimes.
I don't understand why so much hate in this world. To be honest. This is not the 1800s or the 1930s. This is 2020. Like, why are we still going through this? Why are people still not being seen as equals? It's just not fair. Everybody
Yeah.
should be treated equally, whether it's race, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know? Whether it's race, identity, we're all human. God created all of us.
I agree.
That's
I think that it starts at home. It starts with yourself. It starts with you
Yep.
as an individual. You know,
Yeah.
that's the only way we can make change.
You know, there's this movie that I don't know if any of y'all have seen it. It might not be something you guys would normally watch. I don't know, but there's this movie out, Hate You Give.
Okay.
And this movie
I've heard of it.
was so well done. I seen it 3 times in the theater. Like, it was so well done. And it's about this exact situation. African Americans being killed by police officers. Unnecessary force. You know,
But is that like propagating hate?
what it's doing had so the movie is basically about African Americans, right? Who are dealing with the police and police killing African Americans. And it's just the movie was so well. I wish I could explain this better. Um, but the movie's phenomenal. It's about this young girl and her father. The opening of the movie is her father teaching each of the kids at the dinner table what to do when they're pulled over by the police. You put your hands on the dashboard. You don't move. You keep your hands there. And then in this movie, you know, she's driving around with her friend, her longtime friend. He's, you know, they were just driving. The cops pulled him over. But what happened is this guy made the mistake of reaching into a car, and what he was doing was grabbing his hairbrush. She told him, no, 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 stay still. Because the cop had told him, your hands up on top of the car, don't move. But he moved. And the cop killed him, shot and killed him right there in front of her.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine having to live and deal with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't even.
I can't say that I feel what they've been through, you know, but at the same time, I understand that a little bit, being a firearm owner. That's the same thing, you know, when I get pulled over, it's flip the light on, roll the windows down, put my hands on the steering wheel, here's my ID,
Yeah.
yes, I'm armed, you know,
Right.
and to go through life like that, I mean, they have every right to be angry.
And
Absolutely.
to live as a people and have to constantly be looking over your shoulder or constantly freaking out the minute you're being pulled over by the police because you know what's going to happen. You know that you're going to be treated differently.
Could people like if they saw that happening, could people like all like literally join like hold hands and stand together and let them know the reaction? Like, could we take action without force, but like hold hands when something like that's happening? You know?
That actually was happening last night in front of the White House. And it was a mixture of races that literally got together, held hands, and got between the Secret Service agents and the protesters because they were trying to pull the gates down. You know, so that was nice to see. But then a few minutes later, part of the crowd takes off chasing the news reporter, knocks him down, and jumps him and beats the crud out of him live on Facebook.
That's just as bad, you know? Like,
You know.
Yeah,
And those were and let me say, those were white protesters too that did that.
Yeah, it was.
there's a statement, and you were talking about how through the eyes of someone who's African American, this man Jordan Peele said, he said, as a black man, sometimes you can't tell if what you're seeing has underlying bigotry or it's a normal conversation and you're being paranoid. that dynamic in itself is unsettling. I admit sometimes I see race and racism when it's not there. That's what Jonathan was saying the other night.
Yeah.
Sandy says, "What's the name of that movie?"
The Hate You Give.
Not saying that it's bad, Brandy. I just see like it would be so nice to see the love, who we are, like look into the life of a person that has been, you know what I mean, like the humanness,
Yeah.
the humanness.
Right.
It just anger makes people sick, and we have to be more conscious.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting actually, in this movie that I was telling you about, so that girl's uncle is a police officer, okay? So he's an African American police officer. And she asked her own uncle, "What do you do? Like, when you pull over African Americans, do you treat them differently than when you pull over a white person?" And you know what? He said, yes, they do handle it differently.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it was something about, I can't remember for sure what the reason behind it was, and that's, an African American cop treating his own people differently when he pulls them over.
But he was taught to do that.
Yeah. For whatever godforsaken reason, police are scared of African Americans. I mean, what other explanation is there? They're scared of them.
Absolutely.
People.
Absolutely.
But
and every one of those people, police officers that feel that way, should turn in their badge.
Absolutely, because you're in the wrong field.
If you're afraid of,
but they fear the police. It says in all these stories.
Well, yeah, they fear the police.
6 and 10.
They fear they're going to be shot and killed for being black.
They fear the police. Yeah, because the police are afraid of them just because of the color of their skin.
Yeah,
I mean, here recently, I saw a black lady get pulled over in the very expensive area of town,
and she got pulled over because of that.
In a neighborhood, and 6 police cars.
Yep.
6 police cars to pull over this lady.
Every time.
And I pulled over a little bit past it just to watch and see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And all they did was run her ID and let her leave. But you needed 6 police cars to do that.
That's insane.
Now, I can tell you right now, if it was African American male, it would have probably been a whole different ball game. They would have been asked to get out of the car.
So peacefully.
Sure. All of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult, and and it's hard because I feel like you feel it from both ends. Like, you don't want to see all of this stuff going on, but yet on the other hand, you feel absolutely, you understand 100% why everybody is going through what they're going through. And then of course, then there's compounded on top of that this whole thing that we're dealing with the virus, and everybody having been stuck indoors for 2 months. And that's pretty much why we are where we are right now, I think.
They say that Psychology Today talks about why do peaceful protests turn out ugly. A lot of it, they said, sometimes has to do with social media.
Yeah.
Also, police officers, they want to avoid, things, so they step in. And really, it's good if they could maybe just sit back and watch and let people, like there's got to be some rules, and maybe even to take that person that's organized the protester, talk with a police officer and say, this is what we're doing and we have a right to do this. And, so if they need to do what they got to do, let them do, but don't, no touching, no, you know what I mean? We're not going to start this, but I'm seeing messages, and I'm gonna play the devil's advocate for a minute, and you guys don't usually hear me do that, but I'm gonna do it for a moment and say, if you're looking at social media and you're seeing, hey, this is gonna get nasty, well, what are the police supposed to think? They're probably gonna have to feel like they gotta be on alert. Does that make sense? But maybe just be on alert.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Watching things unfold yesterday here in Dallas, the people had been marching for an hour and a half, 2 hours peacefully, hundreds and hundreds of people. Police are just kind of hanging back, letting them march. And then a group kind of split off a little bit. And what do the police do? They swing around, come around, cut them off. And that's what started all this. They cut them off, and there was no reason for that. Nobody was causing any trouble.
Right.
Let them march, let them walk. They cut them off, and the police chief here, which is not respected anyway, gets out and wants to try and talk to them. Which you should know that none of the people that were there care for her to begin with.
Yeah.
She should have never have went out there. And it just went downhill from there. And that's when it all started.
Wow.
And then I'm sure I may make somebody mad by this, but, Mr. Donald could have done something. Exactly. Could have done something to help prevent some of this instead of getting butthurt over Twitter and creating an executive order over Twitter. He should have put some executive orders, and we're going to make changes.
Right.
This is not right.
It's not.
This is what we're going to do.
But the thing is, and again, yeah, I'm probably going to make somebody mad too, but let's face it, ever since he's been in office, this thing has been amplified. Like, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He made that comment that when the riot starts, the shooting starts. And then backpedaled the next day when everybody jumped all over him that's not what he meant.
Right.
No, that's exactly what you meant.
It's, yeah. You know what you're saying.
There's no... He's very much know exactly what he was saying.
Oh, yeah.
And the only reason he even apologized or walked it back was because he had to.
He's such a pompous you-know-what.
Oh, absolutely.
I just can't stand the sight of that man. I mean, just seeing him on TV makes me want to vomit.
I mean, and then so, I mean, just the comments alone of people that were commenting on the protests at the White House last night.
Oh,
people commenting, you should be happy. Donald Trump gave you $1,200. Go home and go to bed. It's like Donald Trump didn't give you crap.
Obviously, these people
that didn't come out of his checking account.
But let's not forget, that's
it's
just an advance on your tax return anyway. So you didn't give us anything,
right? You didn't get anything from them.
Let's go back to the love and the connection, because let's go back to morality. It's that thought of when we're focusing on...
My dad's in Tampa. He just sent me a text message that...
Hey, Dad.
Oops, there we go. Oh, my dad just sent me a text message that there's some stuff on fire in Tampa right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
See, that's the thing is it's like when we're focusing on morality, because once the protest...
But no, so I mean, I think, with everything...
So let's think about morality. Once a protest is sufficiently moralized, it becomes an issue of right and wrong instead of more of a personal preference, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, how do you like, like, how do you like the tweets? I mean, this is true. They've done this research on Twitter, like saying this is what causes a lot of the this is what causes a lot of violence is like Twitter, and that it causes like the stuff they start fighting over things, and it's crazy. It's becomes like a proxy for violence if you think about it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after the whole Twitter thing started with him, then when Trump posted, when the the shooting starts, Twitter did flag that as inciting violence, which of course got him mad, but which is why he backpedaled.
Of course.
But
So he's on. You're telling me he really takes the time to go on Twitter? Is it him?
oh
He's
yeah,
on Twitter all the time.
yeah,
That's all
like
he says, tweet, tweet, tweet.
like the other day it was like every
He's the
15-20
president. Who has
minutes.
time?
Exactly. You have stuff to do. Get off your dang phone.
You jerk off.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why it's so important now for us all to come together and just to continue to work in trying to teach as many people that we are one and help spread that message.
I
I'm
agree.
actually in the news right now, and they're showing the aftermath of the protests in San Francisco, cleaning up everything.
Mm.
Can I just say a little prayer and just ask for compassion, oneness, and ask God, Heavenly Father, you made all of the people in the world in your own image and placed before us a pathway. We all live on the same planet, under the same sun and the same moon. We all breathe with the same breath. I ask that you raise the vibration of compassion, humility, love, oneness. I ask that you touch everyone's heart in a way that we can see ourselves in one another. And by seeing ourselves in one another, we can truly move into a place of understanding that oneness is not just a word. It's a way of life, and it's a truth. It's the truth of being. It's the way. I ask you to look with compassion on the whole and to take each one of us who has the ability to love, understand, and commit to living a more peaceful life. And by being more peaceful, we can then be mirrors of truth to those who are not peaceful. Where anger begets anger, violence begets violence, love begets love. I ask this in your name. Amen.
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 An eye for an eye doesn't work.
Mm.
No. Only love.
You know, you got to ask yourself when I see on TV, I'll see like I saw this kid, he shot his parents, or you know, people that commit crimes. I always ask, what happened to them? What caused them to do it?
Mm-hmm.
What's their story? And I always do that. Even when someone does something to me, I always have to wonder, like, did I do something to you? Try to seek to understand, you know?
Right.
Yeah. You
And
always
that's
try to see where
what,
everybody's coming from. Well, I just was going to say, like, you know, I always try to see where they're coming from, try to see the reason behind their actions, why they're doing or saying the things that they're doing, or at least try to understand where they're coming from, because it makes it easier for me to accept what they're doing, especially if it's something that is hurtful or that I'm not in agreement with.
right. Yeah, like listening, like you said,
Absolutely, yeah.
listening. We have ears,
Yep.
eyes. We all have a nose. As we rise up, we raise our awareness. I feel like awareness is a big thing. That's something that we do here. Like I know
Yep.
Gordon just started a, you know, thank you, Gordon, for your gift of prophecy and for your gifts that you give to us and provide us with this space that we can raise that awareness of oneness. And the more we've got some mindfulness classes and things like that I think that are going to really make a difference, because the more mindful we become, the more present we become. I think that when people move themselves out of presence, they lose touch with the conscious moment. And conscious moment is now. It's here.
Yeah, we're gonna actually be putting some meditations and some other stuff up on the Light the Way site here over the next couple of days to help people to kind of chill and find that calm inner space, so you can kind of decipher what's going on for yourself. You know, I think it's important not always to listen to everything you see or hear just because it's on Facebook or the news. Doesn't mean it's true.
Try
You
to be
know,
the
I think it's
mediator.
important for people to come back to yourself and be grounded. So we're gonna put together some stuff and get that up there.
And if you're interested, you can go over to litetheway.com and you just register, and we'll actually there's a lot more in there. You have to go in there to see. There's a lot of cool things that Gordon's intention and love, because he definitely has a lot of love. And so I think the reason that you're being shown this, Gordon, is because you're preparing a way for people to find peace. That would be what I feel.
I agree.
Maybe not to scare you or freak you out. It's just that you have that way, and it's always been with you since you've been here, since you've been born. The very first time I saw you, that big smile on your face.
When you were giving me the evil eye from down the hallway.
I was?
No, you weren't. I'm just messing with
I'm
you.
like, see, I'm like, really? Like, was I? See,
No, I was standing at the counter at the front, and Kimmie just came out of her room, and she turned and just kind of stared down the hallway at me, and I stared down the hallway at her, and
I remember.
you know, 13 years later, here we are.
I remember that moment. I do.
People come into our lives for a reason, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Very
There's
much.
a reason they come in, they come out.
Gordon and I have this twin soul thing going. We're gonna always be like traveling together. So, and it is about oneness. And you know, we came on here today. Actually, Gordon, thank you for. It came from Gordon's heart to come on here, and we hope that maybe we can come on here more. And we appreciate you. I'm looking at people's comments. Sharon, peaceful protest is fine, but George Soros is paying people to travel state to state, causing riots. Wow. Yes, we need to pray. I agree, Sharon. Like prayer, that moves into the collective, you know, and truth be known with right action follow, you know, and right action, you know. We know there's a balance. Like if you imagine you're on a teeter totter and you got your feet on both sides, you know when something's gone too far or is going to go too far. You know the tipping point.
Yeah.
Everybody does. Everybody knows that. Like that's the best way to keep that balance is just don't rock it. Or it's like you stand up in the boat. What happens? You're gonna fall over. Maybe it's hot and you want to go for a swim, but don't let your anger be your guide in life. Like this makes you angry and upset, but you can make more of a difference by respecting this man's life. Like we're totally losing the fact that he was violently murdered.
Right.
And what we're doing was we're saying violence is okay by being violent. It's not okay.
Right.
Be peaceful. You can be a peaceful warrior.
True.
Do y'all have something you want to share before anybody have anything they want to share?
I don't think
No,
so.
just to remind everybody to check out the website and the app, and I'll get all that stuff posted in the next couple of days. So,
Well, thank you for everything you do, Gordon. Bless you.
you're welcome.
Yes, you're awesome. Thank you for the advice.
You are very, very awesome. I am extremely grateful for you every day.
You are an earth angel. You are.
I'll say I should be thanking y'all for putting up with me. I'm crazy.
We love it.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Crazy.
I think we're all crazy.
You're
I know
dealing
I
with
am.
us monkey mind people.
Exactly.
Damn Aquarius.
How do I press this button? Oh my gosh, I lost my screen.
It's just not working.
The screen's moving all over.
Oh my God.
Tell me, what am I doing wrong? I promised I pushed the button you told me to.
Welcome
Gordon
to my
says,
life.
Kim, get away from the computer. Kimmy, get away.
It's so true. I just wanted to say
Oh, goodness.
that no matter how difficult everything is that we're going through, is that we all have to stay strong and we all have to try to remember the big picture and not to let everything get too overwhelming for us. Just try to remember that it's all about love. Love is the most important message, and love is what we need to put out there for everybody, because that's what's really going to change things. If we just keep putting love out there, it's going to get there.
All you need is love.
That's right.
I'm waiting for Randy. We sing a lot together.
I'm not singing on live. You're crazy.
All you need is love.
I'll sing to you. I'm not singing to everybody else.
Oh man, you're a better singer than I am. So
I think you need to respect, but that's okay.
I think of the song "Imagine."
Yeah, the John Lennon one. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. That brings me back to my childhood, that song.
Does it?
Yeah, well, it was a song that was very important to my stepdad and my mom when I was growing up, because it was around the time when their relationship was, in full swing and stuff. So, if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of one of their songs. So I definitely, but it's always a good thing. Like it makes me think of good things.
Yeah. It reminds me of my cell phone, my ringer. I had it on my ringer.
You have it on there.
Now I have the song unwritten. So, yeah.
There we go. Yay. That's so cool. I love it.
Oh man, that guy is so cute.
I forgot they did it with a full orchestra. That's so crazy to see it.
They did some peaceful naked protests.
Yeah,
Him and his wife, remember that? Him and Yoko.
that's right. Yep.
They were covered up, but I just remember seeing pictures of that. I was a kid, but yeah. You could do
Thankfully,
a lot
we're
of
not
good
having naked protests right now since
Oh my
everybody's
gosh,
been in
yes.
quarantine and
That's
eating
not
for
an
the last
idea.
2 months.
Right.
Not giving an idea. At least they were sitting down and not moving, right?
Y'all gonna see me later on the news running through the protesters naked.
Streaking.
And everybody be going, oh my gosh, oh, I'm going home. That would send everybody home.
Exactly. That's one way to get them all to go home.
That's how you disperse them all.
You know,
Goodness.
it's like I would encourage people to join hands and say we're not going to do that. We're not going to let this violence. Just join hands, and that as soon as you join hands, you are showing the oneness.
Yep.
Right.
Well, the one thing I can say is aside from everything else, all over the country today, there were peaceful protests. There were, and it was nice to see that, you know, in a whole different cities.
Well, there's still hope for Toledo because it's been peaceful so far. Let's
Yes,
Toledo be peaceful.
Here we're peaceful too. They had a protest at the Capitol, and that was about it. So I know that but where I'm at, we have done everything very differently than the rest of the country. I can say that.
In Hawaii.
You know? Yep, in Hawaii. We haven't opened our state up yet. Still no tourists. They just started opening up businesses. There's, you know, and even when they were protesting on the mountain, when everything was happening on Mauna Kea, all of those were all peaceful protests.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't opened up all the stuff yet in Michigan, so we're still, our governor is really strict. So.
Oh, they haven't opened up the restaurants and the bars yet at all, but we did open up our salons, nail places, and stuff like that, and most of the other stores.
Yep.
I wish somebody'd open the salon.
Hey, Kim, can you see the screen?
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited because
this is Toledo right now.
So it's peaceful right now, or no, I can't see that.
Mayor institutes 9 p.m. curfew.
No, it's saying it's
why?
Yeah, they protested with the protesters.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so everybody's got to be in their house from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. tonight in Toledo.
I mean, we're still also in a curve, you know, with COVID. I mean, Toledo had like one of the highest, you know, counts of COVID. So you gotta be careful if you're out there, you know, respect other people, wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
there you go. So this is what's going on in Toledo.
My daughter was there and she left. Thank goodness she's home now. Well, that's good. Somebody needs to pick up that garbage. This is Native American prayer. It goes, Great Spirit, remove from me those things that block me from you. Allow me this day to experience the oneness.
See what's going on.
Oh, they're there. That's not, I know it was on Secor Road that they were doing it. Is that, I'm trying to think where that is. There was no one on Secor.
I'll say this looks like it's peaceful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got their masks on in case they got to gas people.
Right.
Are you kidding?
So that does looks peaceful. That looks peaceful to me.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Hey, Toledo. God bless you.
Let's see. This says that it was the curfew area applies to the area bounded by Summit Street, Monroe Street, 17th Street, Franklin,
Downtown.
Eastwood Avenue, and Cherry Street.
So downtown Toledo. Yeah, they started.
So it's like
Secor.
what, all down by like the old West End?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would be heading downtown. Good for you, Toledo.
I'm still staying in my house, so
I'm in
I
my
don't have
house.
any reason to go anywhere. So I'm perfectly happy staying here for a while longer.
Right.
I definitely I'm like my mom. Like it's funny because like gray is starting to be in now, you know. So it's like, heck,
Thankfully.
yeah.
Right?
Nice
Introvert.
thing about being a blonde when you turn gray, you can't see it as much.
Right.
So, well, I just want to thank everybody for
All right.
Light the Way's been around. Can you believe this? I was thinking 1997, end of 97, 98. Long time Light the Way's been around. So I'm very grateful for everybody that's been there to support Light the Way, and the reason we call it Light the Way is that when somebody walks in, they know that they are the truth, they are the light, and they are the way. Everybody has that inside of them. That's where Light the Way came from.
It's beautiful.
Jesus said, I am the truth, I am the light, I am the way. It's the I am. And I always pray that people feel that, see that light, that eternal light inside of them. It's always there. The good is always there.
Right.
Everybody has good inside of them. Everybody, even Donald Trump. Okay. we have to remember that everybody does have good. And I'm not like,
There's exceptions to that
this
rule.
is not a political statement. You're talking to a Canadian, okay? But I am really truthful when I say that everybody does have a good
They
inside
do.
of them.
I will say that, I do believe that even Donald Trump has good in him.
Yes.
Unfortunately, politics and money and other things bring out other parts of people.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Politics.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and he's definitely a product of his environment, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
He was created. To me,
He's done things that he said he was going to do. Done some things. Definitely done some things. I can't. Sharon is saying Maxine Waters is calling President Trump a liar, dictator, saying that he wants martial law, not good. Yeah, we're not going to be like NBC or these other places that just like to cause trouble. We're here to create peace. Like we have somebody that sent this poem. I wanted to read this because Marcy was nice enough to send it. She said, the whole of planet Earth is a sacred site. All people are the chosen people, and the purpose of our lives is a spiritual one. May we care for each other and for the earth, for everything relates to everything else. Feeling this oneness, may we radiate the light of love and kindness, that all may live in unity and peace. And that's Radha Sahar, written by. So thanks for sending that. We appreciate that.
Nice.
Yes, it's beautiful.
And I hope everybody has a really good evening. It's a beautiful night outside here. At least here where I am. It's like really nice. It's a beautiful day.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I'm gonna make some coffee and sit out on the porch and look at the flowers and do a little chanting.
Probably gonna go outside and sit in my hot tub and look at the stars. So that might be good. So
I am going to enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
yes, I'm going to finish my class.
All right, y'all. Well, have a great night. Love you guys.
Love
See you next time.
It was so wonderful to spend time with all of you. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.